Hello and welcome back to INMR. In today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about Brighton's Europa League journey so far. Today's going to be a little bit different as it's going to be my experience as a fan. We're going to be going through all 6 games, including the one tomorrow, and then we'll speak a little bit about who's through already. We'll start off with the game against AEK Athens at home. The excitement was dampened a bit by Lewis Dunk's rumoured absence. The team sheet came out and that sort of put a shadow over the build-up. Everyone was really excited for it. It came out quite early on in the day that Dunk was injured and wouldn't be in the squad. And then once that squad came out and it was like, oh, it's true. That sort of did ruin it a little bit. In terms of the game, we just weren't good enough. Definitely underestimated AEK in my opinion. At the end, we just couldn't break them down. They defended really well to hold on to that 3-2 lead. Definitely not the start we would have wanted in our first European competition, and with group favourites Marseille up next, it was not looking good. So Marseille was the first ever European away day, obviously. It was my first away day since 2016 when Brighton played MK Dons. Tom Mohamed got a brace, actually. I think it was a 2-1 win. I've never been able to see a Premier League away game, so this was my first one since Brighton had sort of become this club that was fighting with the big dogs. So I flew out to France on the Tuesday night with my mum. Saw loads of the city before and after the game. We decided to make a trip out of it just because as soon as that draw gets announced, the flights go up ridiculously. On match day, the city was electric. It was absolutely ridiculous. So the day before, you have to go and collect your ticket from like this random location. And then on the day, I think it was 3,000 of us, just under 3,000 of us, all met in this square in Joliet. And we had to get on these private coaches. We were escorted by police to the ground. So it was sort of like you'd have coach, then a police van, coach, police van, all the way backwards, like taking fans to the game, coming back, picking up more fans. We actually got to the velodrome 4 hours before kick-off. And I tell you what, for 4 hours, Brighton fans were super noisy. On the concourse, they were absolutely screaming. I'll put in a clip just now. I don't think it's going to do it justice, but this was it for literally 3 to 4 hours, just waiting for the teams to come out and warm up. What was more surprising than having to be there that early, the Marseille Ultras were already setting up, like winding up the away fans, practicing on the drums. So that was quite surprising because obviously, could you imagine seeing members of the North Stand come into the Ajax game 4 hours early? You just couldn't imagine it happening in England, but in a lot of these European countries, football is all they've got in the city, and I felt like that with Marseille. There wasn't a lot around, so the football, I think for them is like, that's what you're waiting for every single week. It was an unreal stadium, probably not the best I've ever been in just because of the seats. If you take a look at our seats in this photo here, it wasn't brilliant. And also we were way too close to the Marseille fans. Like, you can get stuff through there. Actually, we moved, and when we got the equaliser, all the Brighton fans started climbing up that fence and like throwing stuff through those little gaps if they could. Like, obviously drinks you could just chuck through there. You're allowed to smoke and drink at your seat, so it got a bit hectic over on that side, so we actually moved right to the front and literally just stayed there. In terms of the game, didn't start off very well. We conceded 2 goals in as many minutes, and when that second one in, I thought, what am I doing? There is no way I've travelled all the way to France to watch Brighton get torn apart in 2 minutes. The crowd was just eating the team alive. I actually spoke to one of the stewards at half time. Obviously the language barrier was a bit tricky, but what we were saying was, he said, it's so loud, your players can't hack it or whatever. And I was saying, well, yeah, fair enough, I said the Amex is about, 31,000? And I think the Velodrome's 67. So, of course, they're not used to it, Even at Wembley, the noise was nothing compared to those Marseille fans. But in the second half, I think the players got used to the noise and just cracked on. Gross's goal was brilliant. It was really well worked. And the Pedro pen, oh my goodness. The noise, it was so loud, you just can't describe it. I remember a high-pitched squeal, like 65,000 people just squealing as high as they could to put him off. I was actually thinking at the time, like, obviously because there was such a delay with the penalty because it went to VAR, that as Pedro was like preparing himself, whatever, and it was like super loud, I shut my eyes because I thought a lot of penalty takers before to focus, they shut their eyes. So I shut mine and I was like, to be fair, it is so loud, it's quiet. I think he's going to be all right because he's going to be prepping, he's going to have his eyes shut, he's going to try and focus. And the noise was that high pitched that it actually did make you a bit deaf and you just couldn't hear it if you shut your eyes for long enough and tried to zone it out. And I thought, you know what, Pedro's going to be all right. Anyway, goal went in. The away end went absolutely mental. It was such a brilliant moment, especially considering how far we've come as a club. And I said to this one guy at the end of the game, you know, like 2-2, 1 point after 2 games isn't brilliant. But at least we're the side that came back from 2 down. Imagine how they're feeling. So yeah, went home, spent another day in Marseille after that before heading home on the Saturday morning. Absolutely unreal trip, and hopefully I'll get to do another one. So then we were looking ahead to Ajax. I was personally starting to feel a bit confident. It seemed like Brighton was starting to find their feet in the Europa League and that it was only a matter of time before we managed to get a win. And we did against Ajax, back-to-back 2-2-0 wins if we go for the home one first. This was the final game that I could attend, and I was desperate to see a win. João Pedro again broke the deadlock. I think I pulled a muscle in my back celebrating João Pedro's first goal. I did it in the Ike game with his first penalty. I remember just tensing my back so hard when I punched my hands forward to celebrate. Same thing again. He scored the opener against Ajax. I did it again and I was like, oh, it's gone again. But yeah, Brighton deserved the goal after lots and lots of pressure. Ansu Fati's goal to confirm it. Adingra, I think, has stepped up massively since Solly March has had his big injury. And that's really great to see, you know, seeing that young player that's going to succeed him anyway, already doing a lot for the club, and he's been in brilliant form just lately. So yeah, 2-0, first clean sheet since May, I believe. That Arsenal 3-0, that was our last clean sheet. Can't really complain with that. Onto the away leg, same thing, 2-0. Did the double against Ajax. If you'd said that a few years ago, when Ajax were in the semi-finals of the Champions League, you'd have got laughed at. Ansu Fati on the score sheet again. Very similar goal, actually. Adingra got the assist again. Not only did Adingra get an assist, but he got a goal as well. Brilliant one, right in the top corner. This is the game where I started to believe that we're actually going to get to the knockout round. But I was very scared for the Ike Athens game. Ike were by far the better side. I'm quite happy to say that because we won, so that's fine. They created way more chances, and yeah, as I say, if I'm honest, they definitely deserved to win. Verbruggen was outstanding, saved us a lot of times. Going forward, I felt like we were trying to be a bit too clever. I think 2 examples would be João Pedro. When he received the ball, he was dropping deep and then trying to do like too many skills, and I just thought, come on, just get the ball down and play properly. As well, Ferguson, his one-on-one, I don't quite know how he didn't score that. Once again, trying to be too clever. Ike then got a red card for the foul on Veltman. I did think it was a red, but I don't know what else he was supposed to do. Like, obviously he's gone to take the shot. The ball's been knocked away. It's a great challenge by Veltman. But as I was watching it back, I was like, to be fair, like, he's gone to take the shot, the ball's gone, he's had to plant his foot. Where else is he going to plant it? They've sort of both gone into the same place at the same time. It's definitely a foul, but I do feel from a little bit. It's a bit like the Dahoud one against Sheffield United. You know, it's definitely a foul, but I don't think it was malicious or deliberate. I think it's just your foot is already heading down there. Your body's already committed to putting your foot there. It's just unfortunate that your opponent's foot was underneath. A little bit later, João Pedro won a penalty. Once again, definitely a foul. Once again, cool, calm and collected. Pedro just rolled it into the back of the net like it was nothing. European qualification, he didn't care. Me personally, I teared up a little bit. Obviously, 6 years ago, you had a little 12-year-old Izzy running onto the pitch because we finally got promoted. Growing up, there were years and years of reaching the playoffs and then Palace knocking us out. It seemed like, as I was growing up, Brighton were always falling short, and it felt like the Europa League was going to be something like that again. Yes, we'd get the experience, but I always felt we're going to fall short. But we didn't this time, through to the knockout rounds. As I say, this is being filmed before the Marseille game, so I don't know yet whether we're straight through to the round of 16 or whether we play a third-placed Champions League team in the round of 32 first. It's irrelevant really in terms of progression through to a knockout stage. I'll put the score on screen now. Hopefully it looks good. I'd much rather go straight through to the round of 16. For all of the Brighton fans that are going to be listening to this, I've put a poll up on my Twitter on who you would like to face in the round of 16/32. So it's going to be out already. There'll be a picture on screen now showing you what to do somewhere on screen, and you can go and vote who you want Brighton to play in the knockout rounds. That is where I'm going to end today's podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll be back soon with another one.